And we are live. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a very blessed day. Today's little fireside chat's going to be pretty fun for the most part, though. The one big serious thing we're going to be talking about is the Iger Corporation, and I'm going to call Disney the Iger Corporation until they finally wise up and get rid of him, because he's the reason why Disney is as messed up as it is, boys and girls. That's a simple fact of life. Hey, Suzanne. Uh, and we're going to be talking about Walmart canceling the pre orders for Switch 2 and a few other little things here and there, and anything that the people in this chat decide to bring up. And Suzanne's in the chat saying hello to everybody. So, hello, Suzanne. We are glad to have you. Please don't forget to slap the like button like it owes you money. Or, like you're the French president's wife slapping the French president. Oh God, that was.
I was gonna go somewhere a little bit dirtier with that, but whatever. I'm a Christian boy, and I'm having those thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not that keen on it because, well, they met when she was what 30 something years old and he was 15.
Damn.
And
Talk
yeah,
about a cougar.
yeah, it reminds me of the joke that a friend of mine sent me. And he said this was posted on at a college, and the college was basically warning all the students that there was a cougar seen on campus. And one of the students replied to this message and says, "Hey guys, don't worry, that was just my mom."
James Gunn.
Oh, which
Game is game.
Yeah. Oh, I know how you feel, Suzanne. I miss the Queen. She was one of the most classiest people I ever got to be able to meet and be in the room with. The only person that was as classy to me at the time was Princess Diana. She was a real nice person that I and she was real. She was honest and she was down home for somebody that came from a family like she did, you know. And the Queen, she was dedicated to her country and her people. And as we saw, she served till the day she died. And to me, that shows just how heavy the crown is supposed to be. It's not something that you strive for, it's something that you have to endure. And remember the fact that you are the servant, that the lowest of the low of your people is worth 1,000 of you. That's what it means to be a monarch. And yeah, the Spencer family also had a better claim to the throne of England than the Windsors do, which is, I'm sorry, the fact that I know a bunch about the British royal families coming out. But to be honest, my family served the British crown before we ended up becoming patriots and rebelled. The governors of the Providence of North Carolina and my ancestor, who I am descended from, his father had been the keeper of the seal, I think it was, before he died of fever, and my ancestor was shipped off to go to school in Dublin, Ireland. And yeah, both his mom and dad both died of a fever back then.
Weak.
And the disease back then was so, oh God, stuff that we get over back then was death sentence. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah, yeah. What we call the common cold now, 100 years ago was their equivalent of coronavirus.
Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, heck, the common flu today. Okay, today's flu is the same strain that was the Spanish flu that wiped out large chunks of people right after World War One, and most people don't know that, but it's the truth. It's like Shrubby said on I think it was Stark's Discord about his history being wild, and because there's historical facts that the majority of people don't know about, and
yep. things that the higher ups try to bury.
Yeah, I mean, at one time, drinking Bush beer in the United States was a no-no because they thought they would say that you were pro-German, pro-Nazi. These things have happened in the past, and it's going to continue going into the future. It all depends on public perception. That's one of the reasons why I keep saying that if you don't know your history, you're going to end up repeating it. And as we all know, history might not repeat verbatim, but it sure rhymes.
Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
Yep. And at the moment, a friend of mine is talking about how much he misses Pizza Hut. It's funny as all
And
get up.
Domino's is way better than Pizza Hut.
Oh,
I'm partial to
today's yes.
Domino's.
Okay, today's you are correct. When I was your age, Zachary, Pizza Hut was, oh my God, good. I mean, they had a variety of pizza types that you would not, that was like so good. I mean, their taco pizza was one of my favorite things in the world. I mean,
But I don't believe taco and pizza should be in the same sentence. I'm sorry, but that just sounds wrong.
oh, you have never had one? I
No.
can't wait for you to get over here and give you one, because you will sit there and your mouth will go, oh my God, this is awesome.
No, no thanks. Because I plan on going to Italy at some point in my life, and when I do, I would prefer them to not be gunning for my neck.
Oh,
Fair
Italian pizza is very different from the pizza that we're used to. Trust me on that. Just like Italian pastas are very different.
See, even Suzanne agrees with me.
Because one of the
Actually, the best pizza I ever had.
The Italians, they'll dice you up with them pizza cutters because them things are sharp as fuck.
oh yeah, I know.
Fun fact about the pizza cutter in New York, around the time where the Italian mob was like at their highest, Italian pizza places weren't allowed to own guns because the police thought they were Italian gang members. So what they did was get their pizza cutters and sharpen them up really, like, a lot. So if they ever get robbed, they had something to defend themselves with, and it worked.
Yeah. One of the things that it's like with pizzas, and other pasta dishes. When I was in Italy back in, let's see, 1990, 91, and 92, we went to Italy multiple times. Naples, and it was Naples. Oh God, Naples! That place.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Naples, Italy. There's a Navy base there.
Oh,
Oh, oh God. Naples was so bad. As we were pulling into Naples, we watched as the clear, beautiful blue water of the Mediterranean slowly started to get kind of hazy. Then it started turning kind of green. Then it had this yellowish color that started to join it. And then it started turning brown and choppy. And I swear to God, there was human waste floating in the water. And we were sitting there watching as as the water just kept turning darker and darker and darker. We were like going, "Oh my God, where are we going?" And there was this piece of human waste that had a rat on it, and the rat was like screaming at us and shaking his little fist at us. And one of the Marines was looking down at the little dude and goes, "Oh, this is bad. This is really bad." And I was like, what are we going to do? The little rat's floating out to sea. He's like, "Yeah, I just can't let this happen." He took his gun out, cocked it, and put the poor little rat out of its misery. He says, "I'm going to get in trouble, but I just couldn't let it die like that," because you could tell the
Dang.
rat was dying of hunger and thirst, man. Oh, okay, Suzanne. Hope you're doing a whole lot better. Did you ever get the TINS unit I sent you before you head out? Just wanting to know if it finally got delivered. I guess she's already left. Hopefully she got it because I sent her a TINS unit, and it was because she was dealing with pain and she was having a really hard time with it. And I know what that's like. And a TINS unit, if it wasn't for my TINS unit, after losing my pain medicine, I'd probably have already ended myself because of just how much pain I'm in. Because it was that the pain was that bad, and it still does get that bad at times. But anywho,
Speaking of life updates, something I wanted to mention before we started, but I completely forgot. I got baptized on Sunday.
oh, congratulations!
Well, technically re-baptized, but yes.
Oh. Oh, but like I said, that's a good thing. That's one of the whenever you make that commitment, it's always a good thing as long as you're making the commitment for all the right reasons. And
Yep.
let's see, Shrubby's not able to sign in today because his PC's not going to let him sign into YouTube. Oh well. But like I said, but today's, we've got multiple little topics to talk about. The Walmart canceling the Nintendo Switch pre-orders. Disney, i.e., the Iger Corporation, suing YouTube because YouTube ended up hiring a former Disney executive. They're going, "Hey, non-compete clause," and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" Oh, but hey, we're talking about the Iger Corporation. I mean, until Iger and all the stuff that he brought in, Disney's going to be suffering with a whole lot of bad ideas. And I mean, they got rid of all the really good Imagineers that they had that are now all working for Universal, building Epic Universe, and a couple of other resorts that are out there that are getting set up. And everybody that I know that works at Disney talks about the fact that the resorts, which was their big main money maker, they're not taking care of the resorts. The maintenance at the resorts are really bad. They keep tearing down the rides that everybody likes going to. Um, and they keep removing all the water fixtures that helped regulate the outdoor temperature at the resorts, especially there in Florida. A lot of
Yep.
people don't know this. Your water fixtures, all those fountains and things of this nature, are there to help bring the temperature down because of that running water. Only problem is, if you're not spending the money on maintenance, all that running water can get expensive. But if you're doing daily maintenance, or as in the Navy, we refer to it as PMS, Preventive Maintenance System, it wasn't expensive if you kept that up. But that meant you had maintenance people always running around doing something, which means you're having to pay somebody whose entire job is running around and making sure nothing gets broken, which in the long run it saves you money. Hi, Ian. How you doing? Is everybody doing okay on your end? And in all honesty, I don't know what the future holds for Disney until, like I said, until they get rid of Bob Iger, because Iger is the reason why this has all ended up happening, all the problems they've had. Um, I mean, he decided to turn Disney political instead of just entertaining people and being pro-family. Everybody that I trust that has gone to see Lilo and Stitch, because I still haven't been able to find somebody to take me to go see Lilo and Stitch. That means I'll probably end up having to wait for it to start streaming to be able to go see it. They changed the ending of Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, they
That-
changed a lot more
Yeah.
than just that.
Yeah, I'd heard about that.
Well, the most important thing that they changed was the ending of Lilo and Stitch, where family comes first.
They got
And-
rid of the fat alien's Russian accent.
That
That's
too.
the worst part. And also the skinny alien twink guy. He's no longer a cross-dresser.
Yeah, they changed that.
Those are the least of your worries.
Yeah,
The
they
big bad alien main villain doesn't exist.
Exactly.
they
The
took him
number
out.
one villain. Gantu, they got rid of Gantu, the number one villain. It's not like he was a minor character that came late in the cartoon series. No, he was there in the first movie and continued to stay a main antagonist throughout the cartoon show.
Yes.
But hey, at least Stitch said the N-word during the reveal of it.
Well,
Wow.
the thing that upsets me, though, that really destroys the whole concept of Lilo and Stitch was family. That was the whole point of the movie. Be it a family you're born into or a family that finds you and you join it. That was the whole point of the movie. And that's why in all honesty, Lilo and Stitch would not have worked anywhere else except for Hawaii, because the family mentality of Hawaii, Ohana, that cultural concept was so integral to Lilo and Stitch. And it's even when it comes to what's going on in the resorts, it's almost like Disney doesn't want family anymore. They don't like families anymore, it seems. And it goes back to why?
Money.
It's Iger. Iger, this is what he brought into it. I mean, Iger thought, oh, I can buy all these IPs and we'll control them and we will get even more rich. Problem was, he buys a whole bunch of IPs and puts people in charge of them who cares more about a message than telling stories. That's one of the reasons why they got rid of so many of the Imagineers. was the fact, oh, you're stale, male, and white. You got to go. And they got rid of institutional knowledge when they did this, even though Disney has always had a very diverse cast, both in front of the screen and behind the screen. I knew Imagineers of all different varieties. Not, and they got rid of them because, like I said, and if you express something that somebody didn't like, you were out the door. Look at what they did to John Lasseter at Pixar. They ran him off because he was a hugger. And hey, I'm a hugger. I hug anybody, you know.
So do I. I don't care.
When
I don't care who you are. If you're having a bad day, come see me and I'll give you a hug.
exactly. Let me see if I can remember his name from the first Dawn of the Dead. He was one of the actors from the original Dawn of the Dead, not the remake. Let me see, where is it? Here we go. I think it was it was Kevin Forey. He came to Carolinas. Okay, I was sitting there doing artwork, and at my little table, I had my stacks of my artwork that I was selling, and I would be walking around, talking to people, and if somebody looked sad, I'd walk up to them and give them a hug. Didn't care male or female, and he's like, "Why are all these girls letting you hug them like that?" And I'm like, "Because I'm hugging everybody." You know, and he's like, I'm going to have to start trying this when I go to cons, but I'll only be hugging the girls. And I'm like, yeah, that works too. And the two of us had a talk about it, and he thought it was pretty wild that, you know, that I was doing that and people let me hug them. And I made the statement is one of the things about us at these conventions is the fact that we share a love of geeky stuff. And there's been times when we've let somebody in and they were only there to get dirt to make us feel bad. You know, and you have a good day, Ian, and let your family know that we're thinking about them and we're praying for them. And if you guys need anything, just let us know, okay? And so I haven't been just saying family recently. I've been saying this for a long time. If you share love of a subject, of a idea, your family, because you look out for each other. And the best communities are that, an extended family. It's a found family where you come together and you establish the community based on love, you know, be it a shared love of the community itself or a shared love of an idea that you guys all share together or a franchise of entertainment you like or a sport. I mean, I've got friends that hate particular sports teams, but their best friend is a fan of that sports team, and the two of them will sit and watch sports together and good naturedly give each other the business. And whenever one side makes a really good score or not, but when it comes down to it, it's their love of the sport, not the team, that keeps them bound together as friends and as a family. And Lilo and Stitch was one of my favorite movies. Hell, it was one of Jack and Zachary's favorite movies when they were little because they would watch that movie at the drop of a hat. The only other movie that they watched more than Lilo and Stitch was well, Cars and Madagascar. Those 3 DVDs got used a lot when they were little.
Strange, because now I hate Madagascar.
Oh, you love King Julian. I like to move it, move it. You and Jack would do little boogie dances to that. Watching you do the boot scoot on the flipping carpet was flipping hilarious. Because you'd be doing a little boot scoot. And then if you were push yourself up against the wall, you'd be shaking your little butt, dancing to it. But of course, that was the only part she really liked, was whenever King Julian was singing. But hey, both you and Jack loved that stuff. I mean, we could put the Chipmunks in, and every time they sang, you came straight to the TV to watch them sing. And that was the first movie we ever took you to was the Chipmunks movies. One of the Chipmunks movies. We took you guys to go see it in the theater. And unfortunately, whenever they weren't singing, Jack wanted to go play with Lightning McQueen and his Dodge Charger toy cars that he brought with him. Oh, it was something else. But yeah, but Lilo and Stitch to me was it hit me deep into my feels, because it was about Ohana. It was about family. It was about how you do whatever you can for your family, even whenever it's not easy, especially when it's not easy. You do for your family. And at the end of the remake, they have Nani giving away Lilo to the state to go into foster care. And when I heard that, I was like, please tell me you're kidding.
Hold on, I think I'm gonna go now. I'm getting really tired. I think I'm gonna go to bed.
All right, love you, son. You be
Love you too,
good.
Dad. Bye.
Bye now.
See ya.
But when they told me that, I was like, please God, don't let that be true. But I've heard so many other people who have seen it repeated the same thing, that's how they ended the movie. And it's not just the fact that they got rid of several of these characters that really was really important to the plot, mainly so they wouldn't have to spend the money on the CGI. And I was like, damn, man, that's messed up. And but then again, look how much money they threw at the Snow White movie, and the Snow White movie collapsed big time. I mean, they lost a buttload.
I still have customers who are in denial that the Snow White movie was so terrible.
Yeah.
I actually had a conversation with one of them the other day who said the Snow White movie was a good movie. I told him, what are you comparing it to? She said, I'm comparing the movie to itself. That's what you're supposed to do. Not with a remake. With a remake, you're supposed to compare it to the movie it's based on. She looked at me and said, well, that had nothing to do with the original Snow White movie. Exactly. You cannot call it a remake if literally the only thing it has in common are the names of the characters.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why, I mean, of all the remakes that they did, the one I've liked the best was Beauty and the Beast.
I actually didn't see Beauty and the Beast. I did see Aladdin, though. I thought Aladdin was okay.
Yes, it was okay.
Aladdin was a faithful adaptation. The only weird thing about it was Jasmine's weird musical number. But
that and the fact that they allowed the genie to get married at the end of it and have kids.
Yeah.
That was.
I mean, even that they still kept with the spirit of the original movie. It didn't lose the spirit of the original.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Go ahead, keep going.
But now, of all the early live action adaptations, I like the Maleficent movies the best. I thought they were absolutely amazing. Yeah, it had an alternate telling where it made Maleficent. It gave Maleficent kind of like a tragic backstory, but it was what's the phrasing I'm looking for? It was refreshing and I enjoyed it.
Yes, it was very different from the original, but it was a good movie. Maleficent
Hey,
was
Siggy.
really good. I liked it. It was not just because it had Angelina Jolie in it, but I liked it because the plot was good and it had an entirely different take on true love's kiss. Because true love can be a platonic love just as much as it can be a romantic love. Like for a parent to a child, that's true love there.
Yep.
That no matter what your child does, you're going to love them. You might not like them, but you still love them. Because there's things that a child can do that you think about, it's like, holy shit, you did what? But there's still a part of you that's going to be like, I got to protect my kid.
Yep. Anyway,
that goes back to the whole family thing, you know?
Yeah. Hey, we have things to talk about, and we got sidetracked.
Oh yeah. Well, yes and no. We were talking about Lilo and Stitch getting changed around.
Yeah.
And that to me is part of it. We're talking about Disney, i.e. the Iger company, and the problems that the Disney company's making for itself. I mean, suing YouTube because YouTube hired a former Disney executive saying, "Oh, this is a non-complete clause issue."
Yeah, well, I actually have a little bit more context in the article here that I've got up here.
All right, go for it.
So, apparently, the person in question, Justin Connolly, signed a contract with Disney where he was supposed to stay with them through March of 2027. And of course, this being mid 2025, a couple of years early. Apparently, he just signed the contract a few months ago, and now he's already jumped ship over to YouTube. I can kind of see why Disney is a bit upset with this, but still, it is a breach of contract, but YouTube should not be the ones being sued in this case. I feel like because it's a deliberate breach of contract, Justin Connolly should be the one being sued, not YouTube.
Exactly. That's why I said it just doesn't make sense. The only reason why I could see Disney suing YouTube instead of the person who broke their contract and is violating a non-compete clause, deeper pockets.
Yep.
Because no matter what ends up happening, YouTube's going to have to defend themselves in court.
Yeah. And
even that's better, that's going to cost money. Yeah. I mean, the same thing. That's lawfare for you. Now, I've talked about this.
Even better is it mentions here that Connolly was quote leading crucial licensing negotiations between the two companies, as in Disney and YouTube were in the process of negotiating a licensing deal.
How so?
I have no context. I have no context on that.
Okay, so they didn't put
Just,
that in there. They just said that there was doing something behind the scenes on negotiations.
Yeah.
No, that's a conflict of interest, as well as a non-compete clause violation.
Yes.
So that's got me asking that question.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions here that if this lawsuit goes forward, all of these questions and more probably are going to end up being asked.
Well, one of the big questions I have is the dude still working
Right here it says they're suing Connolly for breach of contract and YouTube for, quote, torturous interference with contractual relations and unfair competition. So they are suing Connolly for breach of contract.
Okay. But they're suing YouTube for tortious interference in a contract.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. What is it that Connolly does for a living? Because when I first read it, I thought he was like a entertainment executive.
Let me look real quick.
But if he's a negotiator, that's an entirely different thing. Because I was thinking, he worked was some type of a entertainment person that was supposed to be there for content.
President of Disney Platform Distribution.
Okay,
whatever that means.
That sounds like somebody that does scheduling of shows and things of that nature.
Probably.
I mean, shoot. That's one of those type of jobs that I kind of figured would be shoot, that's way above my pay grade.
Yep.
But
I wish I made that kind of money.
Oh yeah. Heck, I wished I had the kind of money that the Saudi oil billionaires have that can buy a major American company with just their pocket change. Because of the things I would do with that kind of money, it would be fun. And if you could see me right now, I'd be doing they call me tater salad smile on that one. But yeah, I mean, the things I could do with that kind of money, oh man. It would be the world. There'd be a whole lot of fun stuff going on in the world. But nah, I mean, when I first read it, I was like, you got to be kidding me. They're doing that again. Haven't they learned anything else? I mean, I know the Gina Carano lawsuit, every time they turn around, they're getting their butt slapped on that one.
Yep.
Kind of like Macone's face.
Yeah. Like that hooker from down the street. Oh, did I say that out loud?
She's medicinal officer.
I agree with Shrubby on this one. They absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, I mean Disney and YouTube both right now keep doing some really messed up shit.
I prefer YouTube over Disney, though. If I have to take sides, I'm going to go with YouTube.
Yeah, same, because YouTube, despite its issues, you can find pretty much anything you can think of on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's an
It's just
easy
hard.
platform to use.
Yeah. And Disney has got to the point where they keep pushing people out if they don't like that person's political outlook,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean,
Which
that
is
was the
not
whole
how. Yeah, that's literally a violation of constitutional employment laws.
yeah. And what Gina said was nowhere near as offensive as the stuff that Pedro Pascal was posting.
Oh yeah, and yet they didn't say a word about him.
Yeah,
No, no, no. They went
that's
after Gina Carano because she was a conservative.
and a strong, powerful female. She was
Yep,
everything that they say that they champion. A strong, independent, powerful woman able to stand up for herself.
yep,
But they proved themselves to be hypocrites by going after her just because she was taking a conservative viewpoint. And in all honesty, they, by getting rid of Gina, I think the third season of The Mandalorian suffered because John Favreau lost everything that he was working on for the third season because she was so instrumental to what his plans for the Mandoverse was going to be.
yep,
Because there was going to be spin-offs of the Mandalorian, because there was going to be a series that was going to be based around Gina Carano's character, and he has repeatedly stated he created Cara Dune for her, and only she can pull it off because it was a character he wrote and created just for her. He does what I do whenever I'm creating NPCs for my games, or I'm creating a character in one of my books. Whenever I base the character's appearance off of an actor or actress or a model or somebody that I know, I model the character off of aspects of that person's personality and their skill sets. It's like one of the characters I created for a D20 modern zombie game. I based off of an actor, and when you're going through the information about the character, the actor's background, you find out, hey, this person is a classically trained pianist. I incorporate that into the character,
yep.
and so on. And that's the thing that makes the characters a little bit more uh, multi-dimensional instead of just a cardboard cutout. Because a lot of the
Yeah,
characters I create, even the NPCs, I create them and flesh them out. So in case I ever had somebody at come up to the table and say, "Hey, I'd like to play too. Do you have any pre-generated characters?" I could actually hand them one of my NPCs, and it has the crib notes about what the character is like, what their skills are, and so on, and say, "Here you go. Now make it yours." And that's just the way I did it as a games master.
yep,
And whenever I'm writing stories, I like having characters. Even a bit character has a backstory, because just because they're not the main character in the story that they're showing up in doesn't mean they're not the main character in their own lives. And it's like with me, whenever people sit and talk to me about the things I've done in my life, they're like, "Oh my God," you know, and they never could expect to be talking to somebody who's died 5 times, relearned how to walk, all the things that I've done just from a chance meeting for just a few minutes, you know? Thus, a bit character, it's easy to me to, for spin-offs of various franchises by following a bit character because hey, that bit character might have been a bit character in that particular story, but they were somebody big time in a different story. I mean, look at let's see, I think it was Cheers had Frasier, the spinoff of Frasier. The Tortatellis was another spinoff of Cheers. Uh, these shows that were so popular that had their spinoffs. Everybody knows about MASH and how you had you had two spinoffs that actually went somewhere with MASH. You had Trapper John MD, which was the drama that had Purnell in it. That we got to see. Shoot, no, that wasn't. No, that was Saint Elsewhere that Howie Mandel was in, or was Howie Mandel in Trapper John MD? I can't remember. Um, but you had Trapper John MD, and you also had After MASH. After MASH didn't last that long because most people didn't want to just sign up and see what was going on in Colonel Potter's life, Father McCahey, and Klinger's life, you know, after the war. They wanted to see what was going on with Hawkeye and BJ and them. And if you went by the book series that MASH was based off of, they were doing some really amazing shit in the books that came out of MASH. But they didn't do that as TV shows, unfortunately. But that's TV trivia there. But it just goes back to what I was saying about a bit character they might be a bit character in what you're seeing them in at the moment, but in their own lives, they're the main character. But that's about anybody you meet in life. So always treat people with respect because you don't know what they're going through, what they've gone through, or who they are. But also remember, respect and tolerance are two-way streets. If they don't respect you, still be nice. Just show they're being bad people whenever they're being that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you work at Culver's or Culver's.
Culver's.
So you know what it's like working with customer relations.
Yep. I also know what it's like working alongside Karens and jerks.
Exactly.
And while few and far between, I've dealt with a couple of coworkers who have come very close to making me lose my temper.
That's life. That's the part that I've it took me a long time to be able to deal with stuff like that. Because when I was younger, I was a lot more hot-headed than I am now. Though, if you get me riled up, you can see that temper show up, even today. But it's nowhere near as bad as it was. And I just wish that more people would see things and see the humanity in the other people in their lives. Because if we could get back to that, I think the world would be a much better place where people understand I'm talking to another human being. You know, it's like people say, you can't offend somebody, you can only take offense at something somebody else says. And that to me says a lot, you know, because it's the truth. You can't offend somebody, but you can offend somebody, but you can't give offense. You can only take it. It's Stephen Fry, the comedian. was talking about this, and Ricky Gervais has also talked about it. What was the Hugh Laurie, the guy that plays House, has talked about it, and there's a lot of things that they believe and say that I disagree with, but the one thing that I do agree with them on is the whole offending somebody. You know, why should I be concerned if what I say offends you when you don't care that what you're saying and doing offends me? Which is hilarious because they're dealing with these wokesters that are doing stuff like this, you know, that keep going, "Oh, you're offending me, or you're offending these people." And it's like, you do realize you're offending somebody at this moment, and you're going after them, you're trying to cancel them, and you're ignoring the fact that you've offended them. But you're saying that they offend you by just thinking differently than you. That's the difference. You know, that has always confused me on how someone could be that close-minded and be that self-absorbed that they can't see the effects of what they themselves have already been doing, and it frustrates me.
Yeah.
Now, I've already talked about that till I'm blue in the face on a lot of other times. So let's hit this. Uh, Walmart canceling the pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah. So
Uh, tell me what you've the update on this one that you've got for me.
okay. So after looking over the article, from what I understand, apparently Walmart, I guess, took way too many orders for the Switch 2 from what I'm gleaning from it. And
Hmm.
they're looking for any excuses they can to cancel pre-orders in order to offset that. But they're going way too far with it. There's a couple of screenshots in here where people have actually sent in messages to like Reddit and stuff like that.
Hmm.
There's one guy here says, quote, I just had my order canceled because I asked an agent what store it was going to be delivered from. I have 3 stores around me that are pretty much the same distance away. They said it wasn't determined yet, so I said thanks and closed the chat. Less than 5 minutes later, my order was canceled. I'm in a chat now, they said, and they claim that there's nothing they can do. It's out of stock and that the store did it. And then they parenthesize here, which if there was no store assigned, how is that possible?
Exactly. The only thing I can think of is that's coming from the central hub,
Yeah.
because if they've taken too many pre-orders and the fact that Nintendo can't per- have enough of them to show up, they don't want to deal with the headaches of sending out the pre-orders before they stock their shelves at the stores.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when I stocked the shelves at Food Lion, that was an issue. Was making sure that your shelves had something on it. Because when your shelves are empty, people look at it and they don't want to come into your store again. It's that simple. You got to keep stock on your shelves. I mean, look at what happened when COVID got started. Everybody was raiding all the stores for all the toilet paper,
Yeah.
and
I
you would go
remember
in
that.
and the shelves would be bare because there'd be no toilet paper. People were buying paper towels to use as toilet paper. I still love the meme that I saw. It had it showed a picture of a Charmin truck, with a machine gun mounted on the tail end of it. And it said, "Grandpa, what did you do during the COVID crisis?" And he says, "Well, grandson, I was the tail gunner of a Charmin delivery truck." That is still one of my all-time favorite memes of that time period because
Uh,
it was funny stupid
yeah,
because of how much people were going after toilet paper. Oh
yeah,
God, it's
yeah.
like
We
here in
have
the South. You're in Florida, so you know what I'm talking about when I say snow flurries have been spotted, and the next thing you know, all of the eggs, milk, and bread disappears off the shelves of every convenience store and grocery store in the area. That for some reason people, whenever there's snow has been detected, wants uh, French toast. Oh God, because I have a friend of mine from the north that keeps referring to that aspect of living in the South, and anytime it is thought, oh, we have seen snow flurries, he's he's like, oh God. Next thing you know, you can't find no eggs, you can't find no milk, and you can't find no bread because everybody just magically buys it all up. And I'm like, well, what do you expect here in the South? Cold stuff falling out of the sky just doesn't normally happen. So yes, it scares us to death.
yeah.
Uh,
With
but then
these,
again,
with some of these issues with the Switch 2 pre-order cancellations, I'm looking at one case here where not only was the guy's pre-order canceled,
hmm
but his Walmart account completely vanished.
what?
Yep.
No way. That's kind of like asking a question at Amazon and then your entire Amazon account disappears.
That's literally what happened, except it was Walmart, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a fast way to lose a customer or customers that are related to them. I
Yep.
mean, damn.
I mean, the guy in his Reddit post here, literally the first thing he has on here says the situation is still unresolved with Walmart, other than the fact that I'm never purchasing anything from them again.
Mm.
I mean, Walmart is starting to look like Disney at this point.
Yeah. But and Walmart's issues is the fact that the Walton family, I don't think, is in as much control as they used to be. Because Walmart, used to be run on the daily basis by the Walton family that owned it and founded it. But I don't know if they're still in charge of the day to day anymore. Because I've got friends that work at Walmart said that it's different working at Walmart now. And my sister,
Yeah,
she works.
I worked at Walmart back in 2016. I worked at one down here in Florida for 6 months. Then I transferred to one up in Indiana. Both places was a terrible experience. The one down here I worked at here in Florida, there were two managers that would walk around the store, and they'd come around the store every hour, eavesdropping in every single conversation, just looking for that one teeny tiny little or piece that they could take out of context just enough to get you fired.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
That's really fucked up.
Yeah, and that's common at Walmart, from what I've been told. Doesn't make it right, but it's common.
I mean, damn. Yeah, ugh, that's
Yeah.
not cool. My sister, my baby sister, she works at Target, and they keep messing with her hours like you wouldn't believe. But it's better than the job she had before the Target job, because the dude that she worked for at a Italian restaurant, that dude was a jackass. And when we got to meet Stan Lee, it was right after they approved my Social Security, because I had to go get a lawyer to do it. In fact, if you go on my Deviant Art account and go look at my artwork, the picture of American Patriot that Stan Lee signed, you can see it, because it's that moment. It's still one of those things that I'm still amazed by.
One of those things that never leaves you.
Yeah, oh wow, it's getting to meet him was one of those things that it's still one of those things that I look back on and I just can't get people to understand just how amazing of a thing that was for me, because boy, how to put it in the words. People, when they found out the stuff that I did while I was in the service, and I still to this day do not understand why people call me a hero for the things I did, because to me, anybody else who had been in the spots that I had found myself in would have done the same thing. Going and getting somebody and dragging them undercover, rendering aid to somebody that needed it. These are I don't see that as heroic. I see that as just being a good person, just being human. And everybody, Stan Lee at the time had a TV show, Who Wants to Be a Superhero, that they were playing on the Sci-Fi Channel. For a while, it still went on where they did it in the UK with kids. But yeah, it was but everybody, they looked at him as the one person that would know what a hero is. And I wanted to meet him just so I could get him to confirm what I already knew, that I was no damn hero. And my friend Jim drove me up there to go get the tickets to go for Heroes Con that he was going to be visiting. And my money came in late. So I was like, oh, great. I'm not, even though I had the money that I could probably buy the ticket, I doubted they would have the tickets to left for sale to meet Stan Lee. Well, when we pulled in, this big panel truck, delivery type truck, pulled in behind us. And as I was paying for our parking, the guy comes up and he's like, "Oh my God, I don't have change to pay for the parking." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I got you covered, brother." And I paid his parking ticket so he could be able to park that big truck in that parking lot. And as we was walking, he saw I had my Navy ball cap on, and he was like, "I was in the Navy too." And as we walked in talking about serving in the Navy, and I told him about all the hell I'd went through to get my VA disability, and how I had to go get a lawyer to get my Social Security disability, and the fact that the money had finally came in, and I was probably not going to be able to get the tickets to get to see Stan Lee because they're probably already sold out. And the guy just laughed. He says, "Don't worry about it. I got you covered, brother." And I looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" And he opens up his button-up shirt to show off his T-shirt. It said Stan Lee Productions. And he's like, "I got you covered. You're going to get to meet Stan Lee this weekend." And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you." And the original plan that Stan Lee had when he got told that a Navy vet had paid for their parking because the guy did not have the change to stick in the machine to pay for their parking. And he's like, we're gonna spend this weekend with him. Well, my baby sister was working at this this Italian restaurant for a real jackass. And she had asked for that weekend off 6 months in advance. And at the last minute, he canceled her having the weekend off. So instead of us having her being able to be there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, she was only able to go on Sunday. We were actually they were going to take us out to dinner Saturday night because that's what they told us. That to thank us for my simple act of kindness, they were going to do that. And instead, we only got like 20 minutes to talk to Stan Lee on Sunday. And he was looking through our portfolios. And when he saw the picture of American Patriot, he fell in love with it. And he said, "This is gorgeous." And I was like, "Here, you can have it." And I gave it to him. And then he signed it. And my baby sister said, "He's never going to get rid of that," because Stan Lee said, "See that man right there looking at you right now like he's drooling? If you take it over there to him, he'll give you a couple $100 for this picture." Like, it ain't happening. I ain't giving it away. And then when my baby sister says, "Yeah, he's never going to get rid of that. He's going to be buried with it." Stan Lee got this grin, and he says, "And your name's Richard, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." And then he personalized it to Richard, a real hero. And he says, "I know how you feel about people calling you a hero because people call me that all the time, and I don't feel like I deserve it. But from the time I've spent with you and talking with you, your friends are right, because if they believe it, to them you are a hero. And so you got to let them believe what they believe. And to them, you are a hero." And I started crying. And while we had been talking, a whole bunch of other veterans had formed a circle around us to keep people from pushing their way in. And when I started crying, Stan Lee didn't know what to do. And one of the older vets came up and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Lee, we got our brother." And Stan Lee just smiled real big and says, "Good." And as he was leaving, he said, "Remember what I said. And if somebody believes it, then to them you are." And after that, there was the question answering to close out the convention. And I was the one who got to ask him his last question of the convention. And I said, "For those of us who are ex-military, this isn't a question to inspire those of us who've served. This is to inspire people who haven't, who don't know how to adapt and overcome obstacles that get in their way. As one of the 3 men in my life that inspired me to be greater, can you tell these younger people something that will inspire them so they won't give up?" And Stan Lee goes, "I'm going to answer your question, but first I want you to answer mine." And I was like, "Okay, what's that, sir?" And he goes, "Who are the other 2 men that inspired you?" And I said, "Well, that's easy. My grandfather and father. My father, who served in Vietnam, and my granddad, who served in World War II on hitting the beaches on D-Day." And he got his eyes lit up and he smiled really big. And he says, "No wonder you don't see yourself as a hero. You come from a family of heroes."
So
And
it's normal to you.
yeah, to me, to me, it's me just being a good person, just being human. That's why I keep saying what I do about humanity and love. When you're powered by love, there's nothing you can't do because love can help you overcome any obstacle that comes up. I mean, the entire reason why I made a broken body walk again was the love of my family to get home to my wife and my kids because I didn't want to be a burden. And being stuck in a wheelchair, that would have made me a burden to them. So I pushed myself so hard to walk again. And
Yeah, and I seen last time that yeah, while you are still in a wheelchair, you can walk.
yes, I I only use the scooter cart if I'm going to be out for long periods of time because the pain of walking anything longer than like 10, 15 minutes of walking and I'm in pain. Uh, and if I've had a bad night beforehand, I'm in even that amount of walking hurts because there are days whenever I'm in so much pain, it's hard for me just to to get up out of bed and walk to the bathroom and go to the bathroom. And let's see. Shebri says, I can 100% agree with that. Grandfathers were REME in Korean War and Grenadier Guard throughout the early Cold War. My dad was Navy during the Northern Ireland conflict. My uncle was the Falklands. And an aunt in Kosovo. Come on, open it up. During UN peacekeeping. Serving in the military, a lot of people think it's just bang, bang, shoot 'em ups. But in all honesty, the military life is very boring. But you're doing something to serve others, to protect others. You're putting the needs of other people ahead of your own. Um, on one of the BattleTech servers on Discord, we were discussing this. And I made this statement because people were bringing it up, and I said, the truth of the matter when it comes to the military and conflict, the hurry up and wait mindset isn't just for going to see a doctor, especially because we were talking about the VA and the fact it can take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to schedule a regular doctor's appointment to see your primary care physician, much less a specialist. And I was referring to the hurry up and wait mindset in the military. And I made the statement that combat can be mind-numbingly boring, except for those short periods of time of where you're screaming, "Oh my God, I'm going to die! I'm going to die! Oh fuck, shit, I'm going to die!" as things are
I've
happening
never heard
around
it.
you.
I've never heard it put that way before.
Well, that's combat. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! And it comes down to you having to keep from losing your mind and being able to keep your cool and know what the heck you're doing. For me, whenever I was in combat, my mindset was I'm already dead. So I've got to fight to survive. I've got to fight for my right to be alive. And Shrubby says, I have, and it's 100% true. But yeah, people don't understand so many people who serve. you do have those who join the military thinking this is the only way I'm going to get to go to college. And but you also have people who were like me who did it out of a love of country and the love of the people in their country. I did it because I love my country. I love its people. I want to keep them safe. Only monsters go all the way around the planet to kill somebody out of hatred.
Yep.
It's that basic and that simple. To go because you're going on to the other side of the planet to fight somebody and maybe or possibly kill them. You're not doing it out of hatred. You're doing it because of the fact that you love the people back home and you don't want to see anything happening to them. That's why you do it. You don't go do it. Oh, I'm going to be a war hero. Because if you're that way, you're going to get somebody killed, most likely not just yourself, but a whole bunch of people around you. It's just the way it is. You go and you do these things, sometimes horrible things, things that you're never going to forget because you don't want other people having to go through that hell. I'm not kidding when I say I have seen a slave auction. I'm not kidding when I said I saw somebody have their head chopped off because they got raped by a man who was connected to the royal family, and he got away with doing another dude because it's the receiver that's considered the homosexual in the Middle East. I've also seen as homosexuals were being tossed off at the top of buildings. I have witnessed as a woman was stoned to death because she had been raped, and there wasn't enough dudes willing to stand up and say, yes, she was raped, and that she was fighting it. So, yeah, I've seen these things, and they are in my nightmares. They will be with me until the day I die. I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. That's why I volunteered to go. And
You
that's
have
why
seen a lot more. You have seen a lot more in one lifetime than I think I might ever get a chance to see.
well, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be the one to go through all of that? Am I willing to be the one to go through that? Am I willing to carry that burden with me to the end of my days? And if you can say yes to that, then do it. If you can't do it, don't do it. I don't hold it against people who've never done it. It's never things you want to see. Remember that. Very true, Shrubby.
Exactly. And yeah,
And
there are there are some things that I have seen and experienced that most people that even among talking to people that I grew up with that have never experienced.
yep,
And some of those things have been the most traumatic things in my life and ended up shaping who I have become.
yep.
I am thankful, Richard, and I say this in public for all to hear. I am thankful that you have taken up the mantle of being able to experience far, far worse so that people like me do not have to.
No, the reason why I did it is because, like I said, out of love for others. I don't like seeing I don't like bullies, to put it simply. I just don't like bullies. Bullies, it really upsets me because when your true strength doesn't come from taking what you want, it comes from standing up for those too weak to stand up to weaker people who take what they want. Because that's to me is true weakness. If you've got the strength to bully and take away something from somebody who's physically weaker than you, that's weakness.
Yep.
And but yes, Shrowy, when you said that you see great and amazing things, but you also see horrible things. I wrote something for Memorial Day when Zachary turned 7. And it was basically me talking about the fact that those of us who have seen war will never forget it. Because we have seen the most horrendous and horrible, inhumane things known to man. But at the same time, we have seen some of the most heartwarming and touching scenes of man's humanity. Of someone running out in the middle of a hell of gunfire just to get somebody because they're screaming for their mama after they've been shot or blown in half, and just being there for that person as they leave this mortal coil in so much pain. Humanity is great, and it's great and wonderful, but it's also horrendous and horrifying. We have that dichotomy that we can be so much more, but we can also be so much more dark and vile and barbaric. As First Sergeant Terrence Pop over on Redonkulous has been fond of saying that we're evil, hairless monkeys.
I mean,
And
it's not wrong.
exactly, we when we get when we get riled up, we can do some really horrendous shit. Um, Genocide and war crimes are proof of that.
Yep.
But I have been fond of saying this: all war is a crime, because no matter how it ends, it always ends in pain, suffering, and death. No matter how righteous your cause is, it's going to end with pain, suffering, and death.
Yep.
And to me, that's not good. I know there's a quote that was attributed to Robert E. Lee saying it's a good thing that war is so horrible. If not, man would grow to accustom and love of it because of that aspect of seeing man's humanity, you know. The 12th Doctor's scale model of war speech, our 13th Doctor, yeah. The
Actually, I believe the scale model of war speech was the 12th Doctor. The 13 was Jodie Whittaker, and it was
yeah,
Peter Capaldi that made that speech. Peter Capaldi was 12.
yeah. Peter Capaldi is still
Peter
he had the
Capaldi was the
potential
last good Doctor.
he had the potential to be one of the greatest doctors that they could have had. And then they turned him anti-military. And he never hated soldiers. Never. And it really turned me off of watching the Capaldi years. Even more so than whenever they introduced Bill, who every time she showed up, she had to stress the fact, I'm a lesbian. I like girls. Even if it had nothing to do with the conversation, she always put it into the conversation. I like girls.
Disney in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I and this was before Disney ever got involved. But like I said, it Capaldi had that potential. I mean, he had the potential, and he is a big Doctor Who fan. He grew up on it, and this is one of the reasons why I can't wait for Mary Stone to be able to get her stuff set up so we can have our let's talk about Doctor Who. So we can sit and talk about what we love about Doctor Who, each of the different doctors, the pros and cons of them. You know, Doctor Who, we could fix Doctor Who in a single season. It just mean that the BBC would have to go, okay, we're going to let these Americans fix it.
Yeah, I remember my personal 3 favorite Doctor Who speeches are at number 3, Peter Capaldi's "Scale a Bottle of War" speech.
Mm-hmm.
At number 2, Matt Smith's speech during his regeneration. Daleks don't tell me the rules. At number 1 is David Tennant's "I believe in her" speech in the Satan Pit.
Yeah. Yes, Shrubby, that's exactly. That's the thing that the Doctor always stated, was that he didn't hate the soldiers. He hated the people who started the wars, not the ones who had to fight them. But but in the, but you saw what they did with Capaldi and Clara's boyfriend, Pink. He couldn't accept the fact that Pink was a math and sciences teacher. He's like, oh, you've got to be the physical education coach because you were a soldier. Kept saying that he wasn't smart enough to be an actual teacher. And that really turned me off. And because that wasn't the Doctor. That just wasn't the Doctor. And it frustrated me because, like I said, Peter Capaldi had the potential to be as great of a doctor as Matt Smith. He had the ability to be as great as Eccleston. He could have made Tennant look like a child trying to pretend to be the Doctor.
He could have made Tennant look. Yeah, he could have made Tennant into one of the worst doctors by comparison.
Yes. And to me, that's the part that gets me. I mean, yeah, that's true, Shrubby.
That's one way to put it. I like that.
But I mean, it frustrates me that they had so much potential and they just let it go. I think that's one of the reasons why Peter Capaldi did not want to stick around that long. And it just really frustrates me because they could fix what's wrong with Doctor Who in a single season. All they got to do is make the whole timeless children thing the master messing with the Doctor, or better yet, bring Capaldi back and redo that entire regeneration cycle and make everything that we've experienced on the show a regeneration nightmare.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, Shrubby. That's it. That right there is it. It just, that to me was proof that it was the writers that had the whole writing thing really took it off the edges. And I have heard that Matt Smith, the reason why he left Doctor Who while he was at such a high point was the fact that there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that he disagreed with. And that's why he left the way he did, because it was so sudden that he left the show. And in many ways, Capaldi was pretty much fed up with the show and left it a lot sooner than you thought he would.
Yeah.
And
then Tennant came back, seen what was going on, and then left almost immediately.
Well, Tenet agrees with a lot of the stuff that they're pushing, especially the message. He agrees with it. So yeah, there's that. I mean, Tenet, a lot of the stuff that they did when he came back for his little repeat, he agreed with all of it and he supported it. And he's one of the reasons why he keeps saying that if you don't like the way that the actors or actresses that have portrayed the Doctor, you're not a true Doctor Who fan because you don't love them all. And it's like, no. It's like with Star Trek. There's some seasons of Star Trek I don't like. Just like there's episodes of a show I didn't like doesn't mean I don't like the whole series. And that's just one of those things where you just want to shake him and go, you need to wake the hell up, dude. When you say stuff like that, you're turning the fans off. You're making the fans realize, hey, unless I rubber stamp everything, you don't see me as a real fan. Even though these people will deride something and still say they love it. So, that to me, that's kind of a hypocritical bullshit right there. But that's beside the point. Let's see, we just really digressed big time, didn't we? But we were talking about Doctor Who and how it was such a really awesome show that lasted over 60 years.
My first exposure to Doctor Who was through Christopher Eccleston.
Mm-hmm.
I started with the first episode of the Eccleston series and watched in order through David Tennant. Then there was a couple of very important episodes I missed because I got the first 3 seasons from him.
Yeah.
But there wasn't enough room on the flash drive he gave them to me to be able to store the last 4 episodes of season 3. So I didn't see the Doctor's regeneration. And later he gave me seasons 4 and 5, which was the Matt Smith era. And there were a few episodes missing from that. But I enjoyed it, and David Tennant was my favorite until recently when he did the thing.
Yeah. Well, the part that pisses me off about it is the fact that they basically threw not just the fans under the bus, but everything that created the show under the bus. Doctor Who was envisioned by a woman. The principal film person was a gay guy. Behind the scenes, it was so diverse, it wasn't even funny. And they basically ignore all of that. And it's, to me, when you're pissing and shitting on where you came from, it makes me sit there and go, what the hell? It frustrates me beyond all get out because you're ignoring the people that built the foundation that you're standing on. And a lot of times, the foundation that they built was done under fire. It wasn't easy, especially back in the days when if you were known to be gay, that was breaking the law in the UK. I mean, what's his name? Turing, I think was his name, the guy that helped break the Enigma code. One of the fathers of modern day computer programming. They made a movie about it. I think it had Benedict Cumberbatch in it.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Alan Turing. He was gay, and he how he died still breaks my flipping heart because he was gay, and there was a con artist that was preying on gay guys. He would steal from them, and he knew that he could get away with it because if you went to the police and said, "Yeah, this guy stole all this from me after having sex with me and stole it while I was asleep," that's admitting to being gay, which was breaking the law, and they would go after you. And Turing, they basically chemically castrated him with injecting him with the estrogen, which caused him to gain a whole bunch of weight and become lethargic. And he was an energetic guy who liked to ride his bike and do energetic stuff, but because he got fat and got so lethargic, he couldn't do anything. So his depression just kept growing and growing and growing, and he had issues. And all that did was made it to where it ended in tragedy. And they were overcoming this type of shit back then. That's true oppression, boys and girls. Those of you in the LGBTQ community, if you think you've got it bad today, go read a history book.
Yep.
Please, for the love of God, go look at what it truly was like to be oppressed. You can be gay in public now. You can kiss whoever it is you love as long as they're of age and can consent to it. That means you can't kiss kids and you can't kiss animals. And if you're kissing kids and animals, man, you messed up. You messed up.
I agree with Shrubby in the chat.
Yep. If you think you're oppressed now, you don't know shit.
Yep. People don't even know what the word oppressed means. The same people who are accusing white men of oppressing them are the same people that are shoving their ideals and beliefs down people's throats
and forcing them to take part in it. Yep. That's where I get upset.
That's the literal definition of oppression.
That is totalitarianism. That's authoritarianism, is trying to force someone else to partake in something they don't want to partake in. Now, I had this conversation with Nadine the other day when we went to go get milkshakes after going and buying a new stove. Oh God, that was a lot of money. But while we were going, we were talking about, I have no problem with somebody being themselves. But I do draw the line whenever you're trying to force me to take part in something I don't want to take part in. To me, marriage is a religious rite. If the church says marriage is between one man and one woman, then that church should not be forced to perform that ritual, that religious ritual, for anybody else. But if the church says that marriage can be between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or one man and five women, or one woman and five men, then let them do it. But don't force a church to do something that goes against their very foundational ideals.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it for a mosque.
Exactly.
Wouldn't do it for a mosque. Why do it for a church?
Or a synagogue or anything else. Hell, it's ironic. It's like the whole thing with bake the cake bigot. This one Christian baker says no. And you had gay people and trans people driving out from outside the state, going past all of these bakeries that would have not only made baked the cakes that they wanted, would have celebrated it with them. But just because there was this one baker who says, "No, I don't do that. That goes against my faith." They had to put it down. They had to destroy it. That's the difference between the right and the left now. The right says just leave people alone, let them live their lives the way they see fit. But the left is, if you don't think the way I think, I don't want you in this world no more. Why do you think during COVID, if you did not get vaccinated, they said you should die? If you get hurt or you get sick, the hospital should not treat you. You should lose your job. You shouldn't be allowed to go and buy groceries to feed your family if you don't go get the vaccinations.
Oh, it got a whole lot worse than that. I had a story that during COVID, they actually had a lot of people come forward and say they had where their relatives have died. I heard one story where this person's father got decapitated, and they declared his death as being, as they said he had died of COVID.
Yeah, there was like oh yeah, that's what I was saying. It's the left now. I grew up during the satanic panic and the moral busybodies losing their minds about D&D when I was a little kid. I told the story about that because they had the church I went to was a Southern Baptist church up in the mountains that dang near got kicked out of the Southern Baptist Association being classified as a cult because of how cultish they had gotten. But we had a Reverend Bruce Bradley. He was awesome. But he had let this the deacons wanted this person to come in and speak about how Dungeons and Dragons was this big satanic panic, Satan worshiping thing. And so we go in and we're listening to it. And the whole time this guy's talking, I'm sitting beside my mom going, "That's not true. That's not in the book. I've read the book. That's not in the book." And she kept saying, "Shh, shh." And this guy overheard me telling Mom, "But that's not in the book. I've read this book. It's not in there." And hold on a second, guys. Take that to your mom. And I was like, and he goes, "See, it's even reached all the way here." And I'm like, "Yeah, and you're lying about it because I've read that book. It's not in there." And on the way home, my mom and dad was giving me the stink eye and upset that I spoke up. And I basically told them, "Look, you keep saying read it for yourself first before you make up your mind, and you're not doing that." And Mom and Dad looked at each other and says, "Well, he's right. We do keep telling him that." So the next day, my dad drove all the way from where we lived to Asheville to go buy the red box set of Dungeons and Dragons. Came back, and then they read it. They sat at the kitchen table and read everything that was in that box set. And by the time they got finished, they're like, "He's right. None of what that man said is in these books." So they called the preacher up and they said, "Bruce, you need to come over here. We just got done reading all the stuff that he said was in this box set, all these books, and none of it was there." So Reverend Bradley, he came over, and instead of him sitting there reading it all, they had it all packed back up in the box and handed it to him. And they said, "When you get done with it, we want it back because we're going to give it to Alvin because he earned it." Because he pointed out, we were making up our minds about what was in something without having read it first. And he was right. And so he went back to his house, the rectory, and read it. And then when he found out that dude that they had brought in lied about it, he got pissed.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
And then when somebody brought up, well, that's just the basic starter set, he went and he bought other books, went to the bookstores and bought the other books and read them too, found out that the guy came in to create a panic and to get people upset by lying to him, and it pissed him off. And that Sunday night, that Sunday's sermon, he just lambasted the whole satanic panic thing. He says, and this young man stood up about it. And we all looked at him like he was in the wrong, but he was in the right.
Yeah, I remember back in the 90s, even in the 90s, the satanic panic was a thing because my church, the senior pastor's wife, did a whole thing about Pokemon being evil, and supposedly kids were talking about Pokemon and raising sticks over their heads to ask demons into their bodies or whatever. I looked at Grandma's side and said, none of that ever happens. No. They're confusing. Number one, they're getting their animes crossed.
Yeah.
They're blending Pokemon with Sailor Moon and getting all of the details completely wrong.
Well, look at it this way. Okay. Even the Democrats jumped in on this stuff. Al Gore's wife, she's the reason why you have that explicit content sticker now on music, because she pulled that shit all through the late 90s. Yes, exactly, Shrubby. That's what I'm talking about. She's the one that did that crap. And it was insane. But that goes back to the mainstream media pulling this type of stuff. You know, it's one of those things that you're sitting there looking at them and you're like going, are you people high? Do you not see what you're doing? And it's why I cannot understand how anybody takes the mainstream media seriously anymore. We've caught them in lie after lie after lie after lie. And they admit to the fact, yes, we lied about this. Yes, we lied about this. Yes, we lied about this too. But we're not going to lie about it anymore. And then a little while later, we get them saying, yes, we lied about what we said we're not lying about no more. So anybody who takes them at face value, it drives me batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Because when you've been lied to that often and you get called a conspiracy theorist, even when you're right, repeatedly, you get tired of it. I mean, for God's sake, you had the Hunter Biden laptops. You had Joe Biden's collapse into dementia that had already started before he even got elected in 2020, because people were sitting there bringing that stuff up during the presidential primaries. They kept bringing it up that he wasn't all there even then. And then he ran for president from his basement and was using COVID as a cover for it. And heck, it frustrates me because all the stuff that they accused Trump and the right of doing, they've actually done that shit. And it burns my butt so much because when you lie like that and it's so blatant, it drives me crazy to know that there are people who are going to believe it because they have been brainwashed into believing it. That no matter what the truth is, their irrational hatred that has been promoted to them over the decades is going to overwhelm their rational mind and their common human decency. That's how the Nazis were able to turn everyday Germans against the Jews, against the gays, against the Jehovah's Witnesses, against the Romani. That's how they did it. By dehumanization, by laying all the blame on this group of people, and they were able to use it to, like Gina Carano said, that got her into trouble. Who mocked the MAC group in South Park are now doing the very same thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the world, and like I said, I wish people could see the world the way I see it.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
But like I said, I wish y'all could see the world the way I see it, because it boils down to this. I don't see people as inherently evil. I see them as misguided. That I have a hope in me that when they realize they've made a mistake, they're going to make amends for it. Sadly, I do know that there are people out there who truly are evil, and they like causing the chaos. They like causing the pain. They don't care about anything but power. And that to me is what the true satanic, demonic aspects are, is when you allow yourself to become cold and indifferent to the suffering of the innocent and you don't care. That's when you've given up on your humanity. We do see it. That's why we are agreeing. What we lack is your years of experience of it. True.
Yep.
I have a bad feeling I'm probably one of the oldest people in our little group. But I love you guys. I love even strangers. That's not to diminish my love. That's to go to show the strength of it. I love the humanity in you. I love the divine spark that's in you. God doesn't make mistakes. God, when he made you to be unique. And we're supposed to be celebrating that uniqueness. That's why I don't hold what color your skin is. I don't hold what you got between your legs, or what you wish you had between your legs, or what you want somebody else to have between their legs so you can get jiggy with them. That's why I don't hold any of that against you, because everybody is unique. Everybody should be judged on who they are. Notice what I just said there. You're judged by who you are, the content of your character, not what you are. Because you have no control over what you are, but you do have control over who you are. Big difference. You can be a good person, or you can be an asshole. That's the way it is. You can be a good person, or you can be an asshole, a Karen, by just being who you are, boys and girls. I'm sorry, Shrubby.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That is a very '70s thing. That is a '70s thing to say.
Well, that's I still have memories of the 1970s because I was born in 1971.
Yeah,
And one of
I mean,
my first real memory of watching something on TV was watching Richard Nixon climbing on board Army One and flying away from the White House right after he resigned as president.
I am not a crook.
And the funny thing is, he wasn't. He he did some shady stuff, but then again, what politician doesn't?
Yep.
But I mean, his biggest crime was in the aftermath of the Watergate break-ins. He's like, "What idiot ordered that?" And then he's like, "Oh shit, they're going to come after me," because he knew they were going to come after him because they had been going after him ever since the Army McCarthy hearings, and he was able to get Adlai Stevenson killed his possibility of becoming president because Adlai Stevenson was exactly what everybody said he was. He was pro-commie. He was pro-Soviet Union. I still remember when the Soviet Union came crumbling down, and all these news media guys are like going, "Oh my God, the KGB's opening up their archives. Let's go there and prove Senator McCarthy was wrong." And they went over there and got access to all the stuff from the KGB, and they very quietly came back. And when anybody asked them, "Well, what did you find?" and they had to admit the fact that not only was the only thing that McCarthy was wrong about was the massive scale of the
How
communist.
deep? How deep it
Yes,
went?
how deep it went, and the scope of it.
Yeah.
And Razor Fist did a video about it, about how Hollywood has always been red, and he did an expose on it, talking about how far back communism paying for stuff getting put out in Hollywood went. Um, and if you guys get a chance to go see those videos, that video, I recommend it. It's pretty in depth, and he does show his he does show the receipts. But then again, Razor Fist does show receipts a lot. But I mean, heck, most people didn't know that in '84, Teddy Kennedy went over to the Soviet Union and was literally on his knees, uh, gargling some mayonnaise, begging for money to get Reagan out of office. And if you know what do you know what I mean when I say on his knees gargling mayonnaise?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that's what he was doing. He was over there begging and pleading for money, pretty much selling out the United States just to get the funding to get Reagan out of office, to vote him out of office. And so yeah, when they opened up those archives and we found out just how deep things were, we were like going, "Oh shit." It's one of the reasons why I'm still stunned that a lot of the stuff that the left is doing today is still following the same playbook of that the Soviets set out with to begin with. And it's insane. It's really wild. But like Shrubby said on the Discord, history is wild. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of the history isn't getting taught nowadays. Because if this stuff was getting taught in schools like it should be, a lot of the people that right now are running around acting like they're being oppressed would be like going, "Holy shit. Somebody disagreeing with me isn't oppression." You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
There is a difference. The only rapper I ever listened to, a guy by the name of Tom McDonald, in one of his songs said, "There's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate."
exactly. See, I'm sorry. I'm a big believer in freedom of speech because it's better to have it out there in the public domain so people can know where it is that you stand. and be able to judge you accordingly. It's like these people that act like, oh, I'm this holier than thou person with their virtue signaling. But then whenever you find out what they're saying behind the scenes, you find out that dude's a racist. It's like with LBJ. People keep thinking LBJ was this great guy who created the welfare system and his great society that was supposed to, and a big supporter of civil rights, completely ignoring the fact the dude was a massive anti-civil rights person who filibustered civil rights many a times in the past. And the only reason why he did it was, I'm not going to say the words that he said because he used the hard R word, if you know what I mean, the NR word,
Yeah.
about having them voting Democrat for the next 200 years when he did it. And also the fact that in history classes, they don't teach about the fact that the biggest hurdles that happened when it came to getting civil rights legislation passed was the Democrat Party. And that's why they came up with the whole lie about saying the party switched, which doesn't make no sense because the Democrats, up until the late 60s, was still fighting and the civil rights legislation and still supporting Jim Crow laws. And the only reason why they switched was LBJ. And even today, they keep acting like black people are too stupid to be able to go get a state ID card made. They don't know where to go get it. But you need that ID card to be able to buy cigarettes, to rent a car, to rent a hotel room, or do half a dozen other things. And we're the only country that doesn't require a photo ID to vote. I mean, all throughout Europe, they keep saying we need to be more like Europe. We need to be more like Europe. Well, there's two things in Europe that they look at us that just freak them the heck out. One is abortion and the other is voter ID. Not just they're like, why does Americans have to have guns? Because we're citizens, we're not subjects. That's why.
Yep.
Okay. But they look at the way Americans do abortion and they find it barbaric. I know this because I was married to an English woman who, when she found out how abortion was done here in the United States, it freaked her the hell out. She found it to be extremely barbaric. And then there was the whole vote no ID for voting. That freaked them out too. But that's neither here nor there. That's the long time stuff that we don't need to talk about. But because I didn't mean to get into politics, I just get upset with the way I see when it comes to hypocrisy. And to me, it's not really politics when you've got one side doing something and then blaming the other side for it. It goes back to the whole thing of why are you hitting yourself? And that just really upsets me. That to me, that's what bullies do, And it just drives me nuts because we need to fix it. And there's only one way to fix it, and that's to stop the dehumanization that's been going on. We've got to remember the other side are human too. Even if we don't agree with them, they're still human, and we need to respect that humanity. And that's why I keep telling people this world needs more love in it. Talk about the stuff that you love more than the stuff that divides you. Pop culture is supposed to bring us together. And we've got to get back to that point where we stop making it to divide us. We need to get back to when there was respect, and respect was a two-way street, when tolerance was a two-way street, and you could just agree to disagree and move on. That's my hope. That's my dream.
Yeah.
is we can
It's
get
like
back to that.
Doomcock always says. It's like Doomcock always says. Without respect, we reject.
Yes, we need we need to get back there, and that's what I'm hoping that my little corner of the internet, my little channel here, and it's let's see how many people do I have? Oh, I've still only got 56 subscribers. Yay me. But hey, I've got 56 subscribers. Woohoo.
Yep.
That that every now and again comes and listens to my videos. You guys know where I stand on this. I want us to to get everybody that listens to reach out to people and just go, "Hi, I'm human. I don't hate you. I don't might not agree with you on everything, but I don't hate you. In fact, I love you and I want what's best for you. Please stop putting words in my mouth that I never said." That's how I feel about life. That's how I feel about you guys. And even the people who hate me and want me dead, that's how I feel about you. I just want you guys to be the best person you can be. I don't want you hurting yourself. I don't want you hurting me. I don't want you hurting that person over there that's wearing a hat that you don't like. I don't care if you disagree with somebody. Don't wish harm on them. That's that's how you know you're the bad guy. It's as simple as that. If you're wishing harm on somebody you don't even know just because you think you know how they think, you're the bad guy. It's as simple as that. And you know how easy it is to stop being the bad guy? It's as simple as not being the bad guy. Realizing, hey, I'm doing something wrong here. I got to change the way I'm doing shit.
Yep. It was Morgan Freeman that said, and I'm going to paraphrase this because the same thing applies to the much broader scope.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest way to end prejudice is to stop talking about it.
Yes. Stop practicing it.
Yep.
Just walk away from it.
Yep.
You know,
Morgan Freeman is against the idea of a Black History Month.
hell, he's against a Pride Month, a History Month, all that stuff because it's dividing people. Black history is American history. Gay history is American history, or world history, I should say.
It's
You
like the
don't.
whole Black Lives. It's like the whole Black Lives Matter thing. It's a
That was
great
run by
concept.
grifters.
It's a great concept, but with a terrible execution, and it's stupid. I mean, Black Lives Matters were the people who, during the first Trump presidency, were going around California burning entire cities to the ground.
Yeah, and destroying black-owned businesses
Yep.
and killing people. Over 1,000
Yep. Most of them police officers.
police and other minority groups. Black Lives Matter had a good concept of, hey, Black Lives Matter, but something that Martin Luther King Jr. said, all lives matter.
Yep.
Now, look at the people who were in charge of Black Lives Matter. They grifted it, bought multiple mansions. They took this money that poor people who really couldn't afford to be donating to them sent them their money, and they blew it on enriching themselves and their family members. They didn't spend it to help rebuild the communities that they helped burn to the ground. That's why I said if I had the kind of money that these rich oil sheiks and princes had, the things I could do with that pocket change really would be changing the world for a better place. Because there's times when I wished I had the money to open up things that would help the various communities that I see out there. I mean, I would love to buy a nice big house and use it for helping people that I know that are desperately in need of a place to live so they can get back up on their feet. Because I can't do that right now. I don't have the room in my home to do it anymore. I've done that in the past. I have helped people get back up on their feet and get back out into the world again. And it wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do, and so I did it. We can do Anybody can do it. You just have to do it. It's like when you see somebody in need, and if even if all you can do is tell them I believe in you, then tell them that. If you see somebody that's hungry, and if you can feed them, do it. It's not that hard. I remember my father going to all of the various grocery stores at night and buying with his pocket change damaged foodstuffs that the grocery stores were not really allowed to sell at full price value anymore. And the managers of those stores literally sold big boxes worth of grocery foods and bread that was about to go out of date to my dad for pocket change. And then he would take it and make care packages, and the police officers that would tell him about families that were in need, and he would give them these care packages to go drop off on their doorsteps at night with a little note saying from Santa Claus. You've seen the picture of my dad. He looked like Santa Claus. And we created a charity called Santa's Cupboard. And we would make care packages that would have food, clothing, and toys if there were children in the family. And the police officers would tell dad about the people that they saw out in the community that needed the help. And then dad would put stuff together for them. And we did that for several years until Karens killed it. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
Just
Kind of
everyday
makes me
people.
yeah,
Just
kind of
everyday
makes me wish
people.
I had a Karen song of my own.
Well,
Um, I do have a different song parody that I can text you the words to.
oh, cool. But like I said, my dad was just an everyday person who saw something needing to be done, and just like he taught me, he did something until somebody better qualified could come along and take his place. That was how I was raised. If you see something, do something or say something. It's not that hard. It just means having the intestinal fortitude to do it. I know that's hard to do when you see what happened to the gentleman, Mr. Penny, up there in New York City, when some guy comes in and starts threatening to kill people, and him and two other guys tried to immobilize the dude and not hurt the guy while they're keeping him from hurting somebody, and then ends up getting screwed over by the system. Which literally, I get it. That turns a lot of people who would try to do the right thing not to do the right thing anymore because they're like, oh my God, this guy did the right thing and look at what they did to him.
You ever
So
watch Walker? You ever watch Walker Texas Ranger?
yes, it was one of my favorite shows. and it was one of my
Yeah.
mom's favorite shows. Every time I'd go see my mom, odds were it was one of the four shows that she would be watching.
Yeah. I'm about to send something in the chat. Little little ditty I wrote that is a I believe an appropriate parody of the theme.
But like I said, we need to get back to a point to where we as people
And of
realize,
course it didn't. Of course it didn't come out right because the spaces and all that. But it's still there. But
yeah.
yes,
But like I said, guys, we need to we need more love in this world. We need to act on love more than we do hate. And helping somebody is coming from a place of love. Trying to get somebody to be a better person, we have to make sure it's coming from a place of love. Whenever we give criticism, try to make it come from a place of love and not out of spite or out of hate. Uh, Sometimes, even when we're trying to do that, we can come across as being assholes. And we got to make sure that we understand that, because you can try to help somebody, and if you don't word it right, or if the way it sounds coming out of your mouth comes across as something hateful, people ain't gonna take it well. Um, so yeah, there's that too. Uh, oh wow, it's after 2. We've been here for over 2 hours now. Uh, but yeah, guys and gals and everything in between. I hope we entertained you and enlightened you with our discussion tonight. Um, and if you liked our discussions about Doctor Who, just wait till Mary Stone gets here and we can really start talking about Doctor Who, because I've got all kinds of goodies that I want to talk about when it comes to Doctor Who. I want to talk about the role playing games. I want to talk about the comic books. I want to talk about the novels. I want to talk about the radio serial shows that they did, as well as the TV show, all and the magazines and everything, and the toys, especially the flipping toys. Because when I went to the UK and I saw all the Doctor Who toys, I cried. I I, I did. I cried because they had Doctor Who toys. They had little toy TARDISes, and they were awesome. They had toys of Dialects. They had toys of the Cybermen. They had all these figures, and I'm like going, "Oh my god, this is so cool." You think they had a lot of GI Joe action figure toys? Oh boy, did the Doctor Who toys line make you go, "Oh my god, that's a lot of toys."
I always wanted my own little toy TARDIS just to sit on the side of my desk.
Yes, me too. And I've got a TARDIS that is from a Yahtzee game that you put the dice in and use it to shake up, and then you make it come out. Yeah,
Nice.
I've got that sitting on my shelf right now. Uh, but that was the closest I was able to get to a TARDIS toy, which I'm hoping the next time I go to a convention and I've actually got money, I can actually get a toy TARDIS.
Yeah.
But I've got a friend of mine that was telling me that you know how so much of the Disney and Star Wars toys keep showing up in Ollie's here in the States, that there's a whole bunch of Doctor Who toys that keep showing up in their discount bins, because if it had the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who symbol on it. But if they replace the Doctor Who symbol with either the Matt Smith or the Peter Capaldi Doctor Who symbol, same figures, it would sell. But
Yeah.
if it was the Jodie Whittaker, it wouldn't sell. Go figure.
Yeah. That's how much people hate Jodie Whittaker.
Oh,
I mean, to her credit, it could have been good if if she had been directed better, and if her character had been, if her version of the Doctor hadn't been written as such a jerk off.
Yeah. Well, at least she's not the shitty Gatwa doctor who cries all the time and is running around wanting to stick his winky in somebody's pooper, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing with his doctor is like he was more focused on getting jiggy with Rogue than caring that his companion is about to get killed. You know? That's not the doctor. You know, uh it's really frustrating. I mean, the doctor is to me is the most quintessentially human of all science fiction heroes. Him and Spock are the most quintessentially human, even though they're alien. They saw the good in humanity and they championed it, you know? And I actually had in my own head canon for the backstory of the doctor, because the doctor talks about the fact in the past that he was a quarter human on his mother's side. Meaning that, yes, his mother was half Gallifreyan, half human. And I always thought that it would be flipping hilarious if the reason why the doctor is the way he is because of that human grandparent. And
That one human element that the Doctor was always so protective of.
yes, because his grandparent was a quintessential human that whenever they saw something wrong, they had to stand up to it. You know, it's like no matter the challenges, they stood for what was right. And even if it meant, oh shit, I'm about to die, they still would do it because it was the right thing to do. And I always felt that if they was to put that into his backstory, it would strengthen the doctor instead of weakening him. Because as much as I agree, they need to keep a lot of the doctor's backstory mysterious
Yeah.
to create that that him being standing back and looking in aspect of the doctor,
Yeah.
but giving
One of
little
my
insights.
favorite Yeah. One of my favorite uh running gags, or one of my favorite story arcs concerning the Doctor, was the whole obsession they had up for a while with his real name.
Yes, that is something that they should never ever show, or what his real name
Exactly.
is.
Yeah, that is something that should stay a secret, because the instant they reveal that, there goes all the mystique. There goes all the fun and the mystery.
Well, as they said at the end of Matt Smith's tenure, the name Doctor Who isn't a statement; it's a question.
Yep.
You know, who is the Doctor? And remember, in the 50th, uh, the whole concept was the last day of the Doctor's life was all he had to do was say his name so Gallifrey could come back into our reality. And you had all these uh, species trying to stop that from happening. The Daleks, the Cybermen, and so on, fighting a war over Trinzador to keep the Doctor from saying his name. And that, if they were going to release his name, that's when they should have done it. But they didn't for a reason. They had You have to keep that mystery going because the title of the show is a question. But anyway, we might as well go ahead and call it a night. I hope everybody had fun. I hope to see you guys again. As I said before, anybody who would like to come on here and talk about the things that you love, be it toys, be it TV shows or comic books or movies, you're more than always welcome to come up and get on the panel and talk about these things. I would like to do 3 shows a week, not just our current event show that the Fireside Chat is about. I want to I want us to show our humanity, show the things that we love, to bring people together over the fact that we're sharing what we love. So, boys and girls, and everything in between, please have a very blessed evening. And remember, you are not alone. None of us are alone. You are loved. And love never dies, it can only grow. So, go with love, my friends, and be blessed.